talking about.
So what we're going to be talking about is really how to use this chaos that we have, this crisis that we've gone through, to your advantage, and how to as Todd and I were talking when we first decided to come together on this, how to make that bounce, to bring
You
your
said that, I love it. Yeah.
to come back and make your business not only as strong as it was, but stronger and better, and make it sustainable over the long term. And one of the things I think what Brian was just alluding to, and how the chamber is working with small businesses, is really helping small businesses move from a hustle mindset to setting up systems. It's somewhat easy, relatively easy for a small business contractor to hustle their way up to half a million, three-quarters of $1 million in sales. But you hit a point, an inflection point, where if you don't have the right systems in place, the right relationships in place, you are not going to go beyond that. It's just a impossibility of business physics. You're just not going to go beyond
When you talk about that, that is truly something. So, the work hard hustling thing, people get that. And in bad times, people always find a way to hustle. That maybe they don't worry about that when times are good. But people start hustling. And like you said, you hustle, hustle, hustle. Then you get to the point where you're doing pretty good. You're hustling out there, but you can only get to that
that.
level
Only get so far.
because you don't know how, you're too busy
How do you
doing the
scale?
things that you do.
Yeah.
How do you scale that?
Yeah.
And when I look at Richmond as a home for entrepreneurs and startups, like in Lighthouse, the scaling, what are the businesses? It's good, and you can take care of yourself, but how do you scale it? Or the ones that start up Virginia, the idea. Most of them won't work, boy, but the ones that will, because everybody else has that hustling thing. I'm going to work 99 hours this week, and then next week I got $10 left, and I'm like, fine. And but you say, how do I make that $10 work better for me? But I've been hustling. So you're talking about processes and systems in place to help you get to that next level.
So, one of the companies I was involved in several years ago, I remember going through a mindset shift, and this was a fairly larger small business. So we were going from, I think we did like 14, 15 million in sales, and we were trying to figure out how to get north of 25 million, which is a huge, huge, huge mindset shift for a small business owner, small business leader. We went through the same type of learning curve and kind of awakening, enlightenment, if you will, going north of 50 million. Now, those are much bigger numbers than what are typical in a lot of the small businesses, but it's the same mindset that in some of the earlier stage businesses I was involved in, going from, to be quite honest, 75,000 to 250,000 in revenue. It was
Still like more than double.
it was the very same
Right.
mindset.
Yeah.
So we all have to be aware that there's certain things that what gets us to a certain level is great, but it might not be enough to get us to the next level. And we have to be open-minded enough and not locked into our way of doing things enough. And this pandemic is a perfect time to use that as an excuse to make the change and set our egos aside and learn ways to push forward and develop the relationships to push forward. Because this pandemic has created an opportunity for everyone to create new relationships. People are much more willing to talk now than they were November of last year, August of last year, when they couldn't keep up with business because the economy was growing so much.
And Mike, I would add to what I already just said is the other part that the COVID pandemic was part one. We shut the world down. So we all had time to kind of take a breath and look at things differently. Now we've got a social pandemic going on in the sense that we're challenging each other correctly, I might add, to think differently and do life differently. What better time to also say, we've always wanted to help all people move up. Small business is a direct path. I can go work for, again, a company all day long. I might get promotions and all. But if I can help a young man or woman that wants to be an electrical company owner, they're electricians now, they're going to hire 10 other electricians. Now they own their own company or an HVAC company. That's the fastest path to wealth creation. I think it's not because they can go buy yachts. So they can have a good home. They can educate their children differently. They also can help their employees better. They can give back to organizations, charity organizations, that they're not doing at the $100,000 revenue level. So all of this ties to what you said earlier. How do you build a better society? Business has a big role in that. But we don't always accept that, or we don't always push